What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode, this week's episode of the Comeback Couples Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Jennison, with my lovely, sexy wife,
Kendra Jennison.
And we are going to talk today, well, let's just kind of let them in on where this came from. Typically, you never know what we're talking about. Last night, you brought up the topic. I said, well, cool, we'll talk about that. But we were out doing what we do. If you're a comeback guy and you stack your Fs, which you know what that means, and you've learned how to cascade the Fs. We were out last night hitting some of our Fs, right? And what I mean by that is we're walking through the field. I was touching on the faith. I was touching on the finance. I was touching on the family F, the fitness F, to really build the future that we want. So we have our 34-acre estate, and we walk the perimeter of the backyard, and one time around is a half mile, two times around is a mile, obviously. And but we pretty much every night after dinner, we like to get out there and just walk and talk and do the things. So I was cascading the Fs, but really just being present and unloading my shit, if you will, probably on you is a better, not in a bad way, but just like here's what my day was like, downloading it, what's going on. And we were just cresting over the hill and dropping down into the lower half of our yard. And we started talking about the standards of, and we've talked about standards before, but this was like a different type of standard. This was like a standard for my business. Mm-hmm. So the reason I wanted to talk about this episode today, or bring this up on the episode today, was because a lot of the guys that are in the comeback or listen to me are businessmen who build big shit and have successful careers. And they probably, I hate the word suffer, but they probably deal with the same shit that I do. Right. So what were your exact words when we were talking last night? Do you remember even or no?
I don't remember verbatim, but
well, stop fucking lying. So
basically, no, I just don't remember.
I'm just kidding.
Basically you were expressing, like you said, that just how you have such a massive burn and build mentality, like how, and I really feel like in these past few months, really, since you've kind of been like rebuilding portions of, or going back to things that worked for you. And I want to give them that background because, I said your standard for yourself and the way
you should probably tell them why this got all fucky, right? I tried to change the world, failing to realize I was changing the world, because changing the world to me thought I could take everything that I stand for, everything we do, and I could literally put it on millions of people's hearts. But the truth is,
not everybody wants to have it on their hearts.
Not everybody wants to do the work. Not everybody wants to hear it. Not everybody.
And like you said last night, it is a very, very niche thing. I Am a Comeback is. It is absolutely not for everybody. And you went through such a large portion of, I would say, the last year, really struggling to just grow and grow and grow and expand and expand. And how do I get this message bigger and louder and louder? And you tried to make everything so hard on yourself, or you tried to just make everything so much harder than it had to be in general. I feel like there were so many things where you're just like, no, I gotta do more. I gotta move faster. And everything kind of essentially imploded. And that was really, really hard. I mean, and I say imploded in like the lightest term. I just mean like specifically your mental state, probably more than anything. Like sure. You just like you crashed completely. And we were talking, and I was like, I just don't, I always support everything you do, and you want to go bigger, you want to go stronger, whatever you want to do, I have your back. But I just remember very, very distinctly saying to you, like, what you were doing before you tried to just push and push and push and push. I said it was working and it was thriving. Like, you had the world by the balls, essentially. The people that wanted to hear your message, the people that wanted to join, the people that were behind you, and it was strong. I said, but you put so much pressure on yourself to be like, no, it has to be harder than this. I got to make it hard. It
wasn't good enough.
It wasn't good enough.
It wasn't hard enough.
Because it
was happening. So I failed to look at the year's worth of pain and struggle it took to get here, because I think I was resilient in everything I could do. I could handle an immense amount of pressure.
Right. And I do think, and this is just because of the type of man you are, but I say you have such a high standard for yourself that so many things that you do, in a sense, come so easy to you, including, you name it, majority of things come pretty easy to you in your life, whether it's building a business, weightlifting. I mean, putting work, it just comes very easy to you. So you are always like, well, I'm missing something. It's supposed to be hard. I need to make this more difficult. And so in a sense, you sabotage yourself.
I think that's because my version of hard, I mean, we were just at the gym. I probably have a torn shoulder or something right now. And you looked at me and basically said, lighten up. And I fucking went heavier.
Right.
It's this like, I've got this just weird love for like pain.
Love-hate relationship.
Right? Not darkness, just pain. Like I feel like if it hurts, I'm fucking winning. But
that bit you in the butt hardcore.
Yeah, it did.
Because now, like I said last night when we were walking, I said that full year of just like holy emotional roller coaster of just like push and push and push, and now we've like receded back to what worked, and we receded back to like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, step by step, not easier.
Less moving parts.
Less moving people, parts. Yes,
more
thank
connection.
You. More clarity, more simplification, and it's thriving again. And so I remember last night I was like, man, I just wish that you would stop putting so much freaking purposeful pressure on yourself, because you don't need that. You just need to do what is working and stay the course. Like, give yourself time to expand, give yourself the time to, and then yeah, when you have surges of thing, then capitalize.
Respect the surge.
Then capitalize on that for sure, in which I know you will. But you just have that mentality so badly. And I remember how many conversations did you come home just frustrated, like tears in your eyes, your head and your shoulders just pounding, saying like, fuck it, I'm done with I'm a comeback, I'm burning it to the ground, I'm just done, I'm walking away, I can't handle it anymore. I mean, we've had that conversation.
That was pretty much the last year of my life.
The entire last year of your life.
Every single day of my life.
And it was hard. It's hardcore. It's hard for...
And then just, I'll let you get back, but then to get in and like, so like Kevin said this morning, we were texting back and forth about what we're working on, and it's quality over quantity, right? And that's right. What we set out to do this. I set out to help a very specific man.
Right.
And I think the kindness, the love, the desire to change the world and do bigger things, realize that, like, we talk about weak men, yet I tried to lead all the weak men because I thought I could help weak men be strong. The truth is, weak men it's a fucking disease.
It is a disease.
It really is. They just don't want to do it. And I allowed weakness near me, thinking, not because I thought I could change it, man. I really thought I could change weakness.
You also have this mentality of, like I said, just because you are so like stone in your thought of like, this is what a man should do. This is how a man should act. If you want something, you go get it. And you think that every single person thinks the way that you think. So
I also thought when I drank, every single person in the
drank
world
the way you drank. Yeah, right.
All day long.
You thought that when you were going to parties, that every single person there was doing blow.
Party shit.
And then you come to find out, you're like, oh wait, like I am just off the charts, different. So it took you a while. It still takes you sometimes, like in your own like internal.
I don't fit in.
Right.
I really don't fit in.
I was going to say, in your own internal frustrations, like why aren't these men doing this, or why aren't they like getting this message? And it's because they're truly incapable of hearing that. Their life is not, their brain is not set up to think so it's trying to push that message on the world. It was big backfire, because like I said, like we said, I'm a Comeback is for a very, very specific man. One who is 100% ready for accountability, doing the work, the SFL through and through. I mean, it is to live your life with as much intention and as much honesty and as much integrity as you do every single day is freaking exhausting. It's exhausting. It's not fun. You feel like you make one freaking little mistake, the world all of a sudden can be like, aha, see, I told you. It is not for the weak-hearted man. I tell you that. And I'm truly in awe of watching you live like that every day, specifically because you're the face of it. But man, I just am like, you can't, what did you say yesterday? You can't crumble. Like you can't.
We were talking about a friend of mine, and you just got to meet him, wife, like his little son, God rest his soul, and he passed away this weekend in tragic accident. And we were talking on the porch about you said, you know, you would disappear to the woods and you wouldn't, if it was your child, right? That's every parent's worst fear. Worst nightmare. And my response to you was, I don't get that. I'm not allowed that opportunity.
Right.
Like, and to know, and that's the like standard of who I am. Like, I still have to get up. I have to take care of you. If it happened, I would have to mourn in my moments.
Right.
Right. I've thought a lot about it. I hope it never happens, but I can't crumble.
Right.
Because everything that I stand for, every single person around me, they might want me to crumble or have it okay if, you know, they'd be okay if I crumbled. But because the standard I have for myself was I have to lead through every fucking thing.
And for that, I just, like I said, every single day I watch you, the pressures of the business, the pressures of just life in general, the pressures of trying to grow and expand and truly change the world. And I watch you under those pressures. And man, I am just, like I said, I'm just in awe.
And I compare my life to people like, I'm like, dude, you ain't doing shit. There's people out there that are really doing, you know, I always think about like a guy like Donald Trump. Guy's got pressured. That's real. I don't know. Maybe it's not real pressure. Maybe it's easier. Got better systems, but not to bring up just anything political, but just like there's guys out there that have an immense amount of pressure, like real pressure. Guys who have to fucking undo bombs somewhere today in a grocery store because someone put a bomb there. You know, that's happening somewhere all over the world. But the reason that I wanted to bring that up, you know, about the message and about what I created, because we were walking, we were talking about Sean and Sachs and their movement and the stuff that was going on over there. And I'm like, man, I had to accept really, like, it's hard for me to be like, man, you can't change all the people in the world, but the ones that you can change, they can fucking be like these deep beacons of life. Because obviously in my perfect world, I would love a brand that like had t-shirts and hats and like people wanted like that.
And it was a light and airy. And
you can see me smile, right? Like I want it more than anything.
You do.
Right. But you can't, it doesn't, the audience doesn't want that from me. People don't want that from me. They want to take their pain. They want to deposit it into my fucking I'm the ATM. Here's my credit card. My credit card is my pain. I'm going to deposit it into you and give me back some fucking feedback. Tell me how to fix this thing thousands and thousands and thousands of times a day.
I mean, truly, what's your inbox? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages a day of just men that are literally pleading, please help me. How do I get a hold of this? How do I control this? Or other guys who are just like, F you, you. What that one message that guy sent you?
Yeah,
that guy
guy's
sucks.
awesome.
I hate that guy. I literally hate that guy. That was so mean. You are not cool.
But there's guys out there that have their own certain type of pressure that they're dealing with every day. And going through, and I wanted to do this podcast, this conversation to talk about, like, you know, there's always a choice, but there's also a standard inside of the choice. And if you ask the world to do something big and something massive, it's going to be hard. I've had a lot of trauma in my life. We both have,
to say the least.
We're going through shit right now, yeah. Right? I mean, my dad's dying, our son's mom's dying. Like, yeah. We're in it. We're in it every day. And, you know, our grandmas are, I mean, it's just life. We deal with life like everybody else. But because I made a decision, a commitment to be this, I can never quit on myself. But that doesn't mean the moments that I go home that I sometimes just will be like, what are you doing?
I think that's fair to say. I think it's important for people to hear too, that even though that you are this immensely like high standard living man, that doesn't mean that life doesn't get heavy, that shit doesn't get hard. That doesn't mean that you don't come home to me and express and have a safe place to like crumble to, you know what I mean? Like, how often do you just like come in the bed, lay down, and just like a big wave of whoosh, like, Kendra, I literally just need to vent, and I just need to talk to you. And what do? I just listen, and I give you my honest feedback, and within seconds I'm probably asleep, right? Like sleep, or you just are like, okay, like, wow, thank you. I needed to get that off of my chest, because like I am your sacred, I am like your beacon of light when it comes to that
Sure.
stuff. You bring you carry so much of the weight of the I am a comeback world and everything that you're dealing with, and then you come home, and I truly feel like as your wife, it's my job to take that and not take anything personal, especially if you are having a rough day. This whole past year, I mean, imagine if I would have
had more bad days than good,
hands down.
Probably, honestly, if we're gonna be in true stop fucking lying fashion, I think this week, maybe Monday, was the best day that I've had in 18 months.
Right. And I just, to be your wife, to be your peace, to know that you can come home and you can vent to me and you can curse the world and you can just have these angry, aggressive, like defeatist sometimes feelings that I'm not adding to that pressure. I'm not making you feel like shit because you feel like shit, you know? Sure. And I just think that me being your peace and being like, hey, you know what? I want, you're good here. Like, you need to vent, you need to cry, you need to do whatever. Like, I'm right here. And to take that energy from you and then turn it into good, into light, into love, and then give it back to you is like, I think truly a big part of why you're able to.
It's what helps make us successful. Amongst that, you know, those things I used to do would turn into drinking, drugs, lying, fighting, you know, doing bad shit. Nothing's ever really switched. I think back looking at where my life is right now, I've always been different. I've always seen life differently. I've always wanted big things.
Hands down.
I thrive in the pressure. I love it. I think I told you that I enjoy the chaos when I first started, but now as I'm getting into my, you know, I'm still closer to 40 than I'm 50, but like I'm starting to look at things with a little different of a lens. And I was thinking back to, I spent mornings. I come in here about 5 a.m., 5:30, 6, like in this thing by myself, looking back at, you know, advertising budgets and what these ads were doing and the type of man we're serving and the upsells to the alliance and the experiences and the profit and losses and the balance sheet, just digging through everything. And I realized that, you know, this past 2-3 weeks, I'm like, you don't realize what you have until you fucking blew it up, not till you lost it.
Right.
Because you can never lose anything. You can't truly never lose anything unless you just fucking quit.
Right. I agree with that.
Right. So I made some shifts. I made some pivots for me. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back.
And very quickly, we should add that in because it was like you made a decision to flip things around and push and push and push. And then you're like, okay, screw it. That's not working. And then you made a very quick decision, like within that day to like go back to what was working. And you're not sitting there like,
but it wasn't just a decision. This is for guys out there. It was like action. I mean, Ryan, you could tell, like I'm back at the front of every single thing we do.
Yeah, exactly.
On top of the new things that we have to do, right? Exactly. Like these podcasts and getting, you know, people want me to start flying into their podcasts. We got some people who want me to come out here and continue to lead from the front. But that's an actual great point for a guy listening to this. I can think of a guy like Joel Myers. He'll probably be excited because I mentioned his name, but I know he just cut. I think the post he just tagged me was Parasite gone. He had a shitty business partner and he finally got rid of him. But that doesn't mean you just get rid of them and things go okay. You got to like go to work. You got to
charge forward.
Right? You got to like go to work. Because what we've noticed here, I mean, you could even get on here, Ryan, and attest to this, is like, even though I made the decision, like recently here to switch back to what I was working, the past 2 months, 3 months, this whole summer that I honestly didn't enjoy, I've been at this thing, morphing it from the front. We're having meetings here. I need everyone back at work. But I couldn't just tell people what I wanted them to do. I had to fucking do it. If there's one thing that this team probably notices now and why everyone comes in, why they respect it and why things have changed is because I fucking did it. And if I can do it, then they should do it. That's a very important piece. I think the guys need to understand.
I didn't want to like not mention that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a difference between being a boss and a leader and the leader just dives back in. I actually struggle with that sometimes. You know, like I always eat last. If you've spent any time with me, I don't eat or I eat last.
Yep.
Right. I think that's a respectable thing to do. Always like on our boat we just did here with the Alliance guys. I think you were the last one. Maybe Ryan, I don't know. I think a couple of us on the team were like the last ones. We made sure everyone is served. I think that's the right thing to do. But then other times, like when I'm going to war every day, there's another side of it is you have to pay yourself first. And if the king doesn't survive, then the kingdom dies. And I get kind of lost in that one sometimes because even though I'm about putting myself first, I really truly love this thing and this is my thing. So I put this thing first sometimes before I put everything else first. And for a lot of guys out there, their business is where they spend 90% of their time. Probably a lot of guys, probably most of the guys.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the reason I wanted to touch base on that one was just because as I went through this thing these past few months, I mean, there's been a million times I wanted to quit. Honestly, I had a couple months. I mean, I opened up. I'm complete, vulnerable, and transparent with everybody. I pulled up my QuickBooks and said, "Hey guys, I fucking lost 100. here's what I was doing. Look at how much money I've lost doing this. I burned through millions of dollars, right? Trying to change the fucking world. And then I get on and look at my messages, right? And people are like, you fucking charlatan, selling sobriety. And okay, motherfucker, I actually lost $156,000 this month fucking helping people. Why don't you go suck a dick, you pussy? Right, yeah. That's really what I want to say.
People like that have no clue what it takes. Honestly, that makes me so upset. I know, and I never read like the messages or anything just because I will want to kill every single one of those people that say anything bad about you. I'm not even kidding.
So yeah, I mean, on this episode, I got to get ready to go get on a finance call, but I'm glad you brought it up last night because I was thinking about it. And the call to action is for the guys that have something good going right now. I think a piece that I missed, this is probably more for me than me sharing it with you guys, is that like truly, you know, I could think back to the pressure and the way that I felt the month of May 2021 when I looked at my P&L that showed I was positive $207,000 after I paid all the expenses. Like that's a good month, but I remember looking at it and going, "This is not good enough."
Yeah,
it's not good enough. Then I remember looking at another month where I lost $176,000, going, "I got to keep going." Right? It's almost like I created my own, my own struggle.
Yeah.
And had I just looked at that month a little bit differently, I mean, there were some definite decisions that needed to be made and changed that I could feel going on in the company. But had I actually just slowed down and looked at things from a place of gratitude and just presence, I probably would have not been right here. I completely tried to shift my whole business model, and then I had to shift it back. And so the call to action for the guy is, for anybody, is where you're at's where you're at, right?
I mean, I know a lot of you guys like hate that term, like trust the process, but in this case for you, man, that would have saved a fucking whole year of stress and me being scared you're going to have a heart attack and all these other things, because that was not fun for me to watch you come home and be so stressed that I legitimately thought you were going to have a heart attack because of you just like pushing and pushing and trying to grow and grow. And then just, I was like, can't we just go back to like what was working before? You're like, no, because it needs to be really hard because this has been too easy and I need to make it difficult. I was like, oh my God.
Well, because my vision was to literally be a household name on the fucking every planet and every language and every continent. Like, and I still inside of me, even after I fixed it, I'm like, okay, what if I switch and try something different? It's like it's still there. There's
I know
still
it
this
is.
like calling there. And I think I'm not even willing to give up on it. I'm just willing to shelf it for a little bit and understand the same thing we talked about a while back. I can't bend time.
Can't bend and you can't bend time, and
I don't want to bend time right now, actually.
And your message is not for everybody. Is a massive component of it. There are more weak men and individuals in the world than there are alpha strong males who are willing to take accountability for their life. And you guys are just such a rare breed that you trying to push that message on everybody, you get messages like that.
Yeah.
Pussy.
And that's hard that's hard to remember because, we see the size of this gaping hole, 3 million plus new cases of alcohol abuse a year reported. And like, fuck, man, you feel like you're not doing shit.
Right. And I know that you want to truly help the entire world. I mean, how many times have I heard you?
Nobel Peace Prize, but
you do. You're like, I could do it. I just know there's a part in I'm a Comeback for every single man out there, and they just want to, but your message truly is for someone who can come from a place of power and to set aside that victim mentality and be like, dang, you know what? I've been making really messed up choices. Today I'm going to choose to win. And not every man wants to hear that. More men don't want to hear that then. It's easy. It's easier to hide. It's easier to crumble.
I'm going to leave it right there. That was a great call to action. The other thing you said was TTP, trust the process. Only you know the process. You're like for you, your process is different than my process, but whatever it is, we're big on goals, big on intensity and intention moving forward. But don't forget to look at because where you're at is where you're at. Only you know if it's a good place or a bad place. And the pressure we put on ourselves as men, as powerful warriors who are going out to do primal things to create. And ultimately I look at my life that way. Like, this added pressure isn't needed. It actually robs from you, but don't look past the fact that if you ever need it in your reserve, it's there. It's a gift.
I love that. Yep.
So That's it for today's episode. We'll see you all next week.